Oh, shnikes. Holy shnikes. I don't even have my mic plugged in. Well. I was unprepared. I was in the middle of a conference call and had to abruptly stop doing what I was doing. But welcome to the Expendable Show. I'm your host, the Expendable. So, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover today. And it all starts with, well, we're not going to get to that yet. We'll talk about it here in a second. I got to make sure my microphone doesn't switch off on me. But if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. This episode is brought to you by Gatsby Trading Solutions. There's the logo. Saving the planet one day at a time. Just not doing it the way Joe Biden wants. So today, we have so much stuff to do. So as I'm sure as everybody knows, we have an issue with affordability. President Trump is trying to address those things. And we talked about it last week, so we're not going to talk about it this week. But we'll go down through the prices, our statistics for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. This is a kind of a big deal. I pay attention to this stuff because it's kind of a gauge of where we're at as a country. Are we getting more affordable or are we not? So let's go down through the statistics. Gas prices are up 2 cents on average. So we're looking at $3.09 a gallon now, which I don't like that, but hopefully we'll get this taken care of soon. Mortgage rates, they've just been stuck at 6.125 for a 30-year fixed. I don't like that either. We did get below 6. Now we're back over 6. Trump's approval rating, he jumped up almost a point this week, so he's at 43.1. So let's see if Trump continues to trend on the upward on the polling. I think he's starting to see some of the rewards of some of his decisions that he's been making recently. And check the Dow Jones, see what we're looking at. What did it close at today? $46,138.77. So, I mean, we're down 1,000 over since last week. I'm not panicking. It's pretty normal adjustment. The Democrat Party, we are at 33.6%. Not we. I'm not a Democrat. I consider myself I do whatever I want kind of politician. Most Democrats call me a misinformation person or a propagandist. The righties, they don't really label me nothing. I'm just here. So congressional Dems are at 19%. Good job, guys. That defines success. Failure defines success. So that's where we're at. So as we know, with all the hype throughout, hey, Bonnie. So the hype throughout the week, the last probably week and a half has been the Epstein case. So I'm going to go down through some of the key points of the last few days. Hey, there's Rob, live from Canada. That's right. We're international around here. Well, we're going to go through the Epstein stuff. Some of the stuff that kind of came up that I kind of jumped out to me that I think is it's fruitful to talk about. And I'm not right all the time. Just all the time I'm right. So Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act. That's what they're calling it. I am glad they did it. I'm glad they finally did it. Maybe we can stop talking about it now. Now it's just a matter of, seeing what comes out of that. So President Trump is expected to sign it into law. This will compel the Justice Department to release Jeffrey Epstein's files. They've got within 30 days to get it done, with protections for the victim's personal information, rightfully so. So we're going to start. What will probably happen is we'll start seeing pieces of it at a time. And I think some of that's already leaking out because they're already talking about some of these emails and stuff that people are getting their hands on. So what happened was on November 18th, the House approved the bill 427-1. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pages probably, Rob. Might be a couple 100,000, I think. But 427-1. It's the only time in a long time that I think they've been that unanimous. Hey, there's Rick. What's up, Rick? We're going to talk about what we're going to be mad about here in a second. So the lone no vote, interestingly enough, came from Republican Representative Clay Higgins out of Louisiana. He is getting destroyed on social media right now for voting no. The only one out of all of Congress to vote no. So it's very telling. He says it's because of privacy concerns, but who knows? Usually Clay Higgins is a pretty solid dude, so I don't know. I'm just going to kind of let it play out, and we'll see what comes out of that. It'll probably just blow over, and we'll all forget about it. So the Senate bill was passed unanimously, meaning no senator objected. So that was part of the Senate, so it flew through the Senate. After months of opposition, President Trump reversed course on November 17th, urging Republicans to support the bill. He has publicly stated he will sign it. It's the PSYOP. President Trump tricked the Democrats into voting yes because he made them think that I'm terrified of what's going to be in there. So he got all the Democrats to say yes. It's brilliant. Now it won't look like he's going after his political opponents because Congress agreed to it. So now they can go after all these clowns, and it won't fall back that President Trump is trying to politicize the Department of Justice. So the legislation requires the Department of Justice to release all unclassified, communications and investigation materials related to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Sensitive information about the survivors and ongoing investigations will be withheld. So several Epstein survivors were present in the House chamber during the vote and celebrated its passage. So, that's good. I like that. It's going to be a good step in the right direction for those survivors and victims. The bill represents a rare bipartisan rebuke of Trump's earlier stance. Lawmakers across both parties united to demand disclosure of Epstein's network of government records. Trump has complained about media focus on Epstein, even lashing out at reporters during questions. Still, his reversal was key to securing GOP support. Once this is signed, the Department of Justice will have 30 days to release the files. However, experts caution that not all documents may be made public as the law allows redactions to protect victims in ongoing cases. Well, Rob. See, Rob's my insider from Canada. He knows everything that's going on in Canada, and he tells me. He leaks Canada's secret information. I think we should call her Waxwell anyway. It's Ghislaine Waxwell. It sounds way cooler. Jessica, hello. So, moving on. So there are some records that are out there. So we're going to go through some of those because everybody with AI screws everything up. I know you guys have all heard me complain about how much I don't like AI. I know Carney knows a lot. He's probably, you know what? Carney's not a sweet and innocent type of guy. Hangs out with all those European oligarchs all the time. We know what time they're on. That weird cross-dresser tranny time. No offense to the cross-dresser trannies. I don't think that's not gonna fly. But so some of the stuff that's come out, and I like I said, the AI systems screw everything up because they take these documents and then they run them through the AI system and they alter them, and then when they're online, you can't. There's no forensics you can look at to. I mean, the experts can do it, but I can't. I can, I just read it like everybody else does. So we're going to go through some of those things. So there is a 2013 email that one of Hakeem Jeffries' staffers, or I guess she was part of his campaign. Hey, what's up, G bro? Yeah, AIs, they're going to take it. It reminds me of the South Park episode where they make fun of the immigrants and they're like, they took our jobs. We're going to be saying that about AI. Like, the AI took our jobs. I like South Park. I watch South Park religiously. Oh, anyway, we're talking about politics. So Hakeem Jeffries' people, the lady named Lisa Rossi, she sent Jeffrey Epstein an email inviting him to a Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee dinner with Barack Obama. So in the email, it described Hakeem Jeffries. This is what Lisa Rossi wrote about Hakeem Jeffries to Jeffrey Epstein. He said, Hakeem Jeffries is Brooklyn's Barack Obama. What a title, Brooklyn's Barack Obama. But everybody on in the internet calls him the Timu Obama, which is way more fitting. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries would make it 10 minutes in Brooklyn, actually. He encouraged Epstein to get to know Hakeem better. I wonder how he would get to know Hakeem better. By participating in the fundraiser. So this outreach came 5 years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for sex crimes involving minors. Federal records show no contributions from Epstein to Jeffries. So it looks like Epstein didn't like Hakeem Jeffries or something. He didn't give him any money. They don't even know if he even responded to the email. So the Oversight Committee Chairman, James Comer, Republican from the state of Kentucky. So right off the bat, he's a questionable politician, could be corrupt. There's a 95% chance he's probably corrupt. So he highlighted the email in November 2025 accusing Jeffrey's campaign of soliciting money from Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffries responded. He's publicly stated, he said, I've never met Jeffrey Epstein. I've never spoke to him. I have no recollection of the email. He certainly never accepted money from Epstein. So the Revelation Service, amidst a broader push for transparency of the Epstein files, which Congress has now ordered the DOJ to release them within 30 days. A Jeffries-linked firm did send Epstein a fundraising invitation, 2013. It is 100% verifiably provable. Epstein did not donate. That's verifiably provable. Hakeem Jeffries denies involvement. He insists he had no knowledge of the outreach and supports full release of the DOJ. Now, that right there may or may not be true, because we know that when these groups get together, like these PACs and these campaigns, they all sit down and they brainstorm. They made a list of viable donors. So for them to say, hey, Jeffrey Epstein, that's somebody we need on the list. Epstein was on probably their A list of people to hit up for donations. So for Hakeem Jeffries to say, I didn't know nothing about Jeffrey Epstein, whatever, man, he's an A-list donor. Y'all targeted him for donations. Don't play me. I'm not stupid. So other interesting people. So Harvard is heavily linked to Epstein. Now, my youngest son, he he is very, very intelligent. And he had an offer to go to Harvard on an academic scholarship. And at the time, I was like, yes, go. And he didn't want to do it. He wanted to go to a smaller school that was closer to home. And so he ended up making the right decision. Well, maybe. I wanted him to go to MIT, actually. But he stayed at a smaller school. And I'm glad he didn't go to Harvard now. Because every time Harvard's in the news, it's over something stupid and ridiculous. They're not exempt from the Epstein files. Who would have thought a bunch of college people from the same college would be involved in the Epstein files? Well, Larry Summers is all over it. He is a former Harvard president from 2001 to 2006. He is the ex-U.S. Treasury Secretary and Barack Obama's National Economic Council Director. This guy has major ties to a lot of stuff. He's a big player with Epstein, but big enough to where he had to have a conference with his lecture hall at Harvard and saying, I regret it, blah, 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 but we're going to move forward. But there's a lot of pressure on Harvard to get rid of him, and they're probably going to. They may have already done it by now. So email shows Summers maintained close correspondence with Epstein well into 2018, even seeking Epstein's advice on personal matters. Summers has since admitted he is deeply ashamed of continuing contact with Epstein and has stepped back from public comments, resigning from roles at OpenAI and other institutions. Now, that's where it gets interesting. This guy has big, big ties to the AI systems, to OpenAI. The OpenAI founder is Sam Altman, who, and my personal beliefs, is responsible for the murder of Sachir Balaji. So there's a lot of context there to where it seems like these evil people continue to hang out with more evil people. So that's where that's at. Now, Harvard has, as of when I put this all together today, Harvard has launched an internal investigation into Summers' ties to Epstein. Now, Summers' wife, Elisa New, her last name's New, she is a professor emerita, I don't know what they call it on the girl side, but of American literature at Harvard. So she's a lit big dog. And so she communicated with Epstein about her PBS series called Poetry in America, asking him for help recruiting celebrities and even recommending he read a little Lolita. What could you put? You're going to call Epstein and be like, hey, I need you to recruit some people for me. What do you think he's going to show up with? I wonder if she used the code words. Like, that's the last guy you want to recruit people for you. You're going to end up on a federal indictment. So records show Epstein donated $110,000 in 2016 to support her project. So he ended up being a big donor. Now, Alan Dershowitz, he's on there too. And the only reason why I mention him is because, for one, Alan Dershowitz, I give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like, yes, he's all over Epstein stuff. He's on the airplane a lot. He's on the island a lot. But that's Epstein's personal lawyer. Does that give him an out? No. So, but Alan Dershowitz was also a Harvard law professor and part of Epstein's legal team in 2018. He negotiated Epstein's controversial plea deal and has long defended his decision to represent him. He's a lawyer. He did what lawyers do. Now, do I think Alan Dershowitz is 100% completely innocent? No. He knew enough that he didn't say that he should have turned stuff in a long time ago. I think he's negligent. So Dershowitz appears in the files both as Epstein's lawyer and as a Harvard affiliate who maintained ties during that period. So that's take it for what you want. We'll see what else Dershowitz is tied to when it all comes out. So Harvard has made a response, kind of. The university confirmed it is reviewing all names tied to Epstein in the documents to determine what actions may be warranted. The greatest senator of all time that's related to every Native American tribe on the planet, Elizabeth Warren, has called for Harvard to sever ties with Summers, citing his monumentally bad judgment in maintaining a relationship with Epstein. So we know when Elizabeth Warren, she's got her battle cry out there and she's going to make things happen. These revelations come as Congress has mandated the Department of Justice to release all Epstein files within 30 days. We already talked about that 1,000 times. So the House Oversight has done a relatively good job on this. So James Comer did a good job. Do I have a lot of faith in these oversight committees? I don't really, because through Trump's first investigation, when they were going through all this stuff, and then they went through it again when Biden was president. Now we're going through it again. It just seems like we spend a lot of time in these oversight committees, and nothing ever comes out of them. It's just information that goes out that America eventually forgets about, and there's no account. At the end of the day, no accountability happens out of them. But I do see, like with some of these Harvard people, they're going to fire people. I mean, they're not going to get the jail time that they deserve, but their careers are going to be ruined. So that's a step in the right direction, but that's the people doing that. Our government really isn't doing much when it comes to these things. Like I said, they've had these files for 4 to 6 years, and we've seen nobody get indicted. So I just feel like this is just like for information purposes only kind of scenario, which I don't like that. So now we're going to talk about an interesting part of this story that has been getting talked about a lot today. So there are texts that show Congresswoman Plaskett, and they're like getting advice from Jeffrey Epstein during the Cohen investigation, or when Cohen was trying to testify against Donald Trump back in 2019, Michael Cohen, and Epstein's literally telling her what to do. How is this happening? How is Jeffrey Epstein, who is not a member of Congress, let's forget about his charges for a minute. He's a private citizen. Why is he being able to just text during an oversight committee and tell a congressperson what to do? And she just does it without having a legal team there to say, hey, let's stay away from that line of questioning, or hey, use this. Like, there was nothing. She was just taking everything he was given at face value. Like, how negligent is that? But that's what the left does. They were so obsessed with Donald Trump, get Donald Trump, that they were willing to sell their soul for it. Epstein was even telling her, oh, you look great. And she said, hey, quick, tell me who, Rona is. Because Epstein knew that Donald Trump's very close personal assistant was Rona Graff. And he wanted that brought up. She brought it up. He was basically telling her what to do. So that's turned into a big thing. The House Republicans today called for a formal censure of her because of her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which I'm sure there's going to be more information between those two that's going to eventually come out. How did he get her phone number? How did they build this relationship? How long has this been going on? Was she on the island? Did she meet in New York or at his mansion? We don't know, but hopefully they find out. So the House narrowly voted against reprimanding Plaskett, with all Democrats and a few Republicans opposing the measure. So Epstein had deep ties to the Virgin Islands, where he owned a private island and donated to local politicians, including Plaskett. So there's a tie. And Plaskett is a representative of the Virgin Islands. So Hakeem Jeffries, the old Timu Obama, he said he repeatedly refused to say whether it was appropriate for Plaskett to be messaging Epstein. He emphasized, well, Stacey Plaskett is not accused of violating any House rule or any law, any statute. Clearly and unequivocally denounced Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, well, why are you kicking it with this guy? So she defended herself on the House floor, saying that Epstein was her constituent and that she often receives texts from friends, foes, and constituents during hearings. I think I don't buy that at all. She claimed it was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation. So she's saying, I didn't know he was under federal investigation. She must be a shitty representative if she don't know. So Representative Ralph Norman, a Republican out of South Carolina, so he led the censure effort. He said those documents show that Stacey Plaskett, a sitting member of Congress, coordinated her questioning during an official oversight hearing with a man who's a convicted sex offender. Framed the issue as one of basic decency, not partisanship. Which it's not a violation of the rules, but it does bore some ethics problems. So many argued her text shaped her questioning of Michael Cohen in 2019, suggesting Epstein influenced congressional proceedings. Conservative members expressed outrage after the failed censure vote, accusing leadership of cutting backroom deals to protect Plaskett. Jamie Raskins, who's the biggest moron in Congress, he's arguably the biggest moron in Congress. He said the censure attempt was a distraction from the broader push to release the Epstein files. Whatever. He's an idiot. Democrats highlighted Plaskett's record on fighting sexual assault and human trafficking, framing the controversy as a political theater. Yeah, I don't buy that either. So I want to end and show one of my favorite pictures of Democrats of all time. Right here. Hey, Bill. What are you doing with that blue dress on, Bill? We all like Bill Clinton. Yeah. Take a good look. It's about to go away. Yeah. Now, we are going to go into a case in Pike County. You like that, Rob? I did that just for you, buddy. Hey, you know what, Becky? It's better than the picture that you sent me. That was just mean. I'll never forget that. But here we go. We're going to talk about it. This is a major development that just came out. So there's a lot of stuff in Kentucky that happened today. So we're gonna cover it all. So this guy right here, for those of you who don't know, is Judge Howard Keith Hall of Pike County, Kentucky. So he was recently acquitted, which was yesterday or today, one of the two. They found him not guilty of mail fraud and theft of government funds after a week-long trial in November. So this just concluded. Now, a lot of you who don't watch my show a lot, I have spent a lot of time looking at all the politicians of Pike County. I have not paid very much attention to Keith Hall simply because he's been going through these legal battles, and I was unsure if he would even make it out of this or not. You know, generally, if you get indicted, you're going to get found guilty. So now that he's been cleared, you know, we're going to kind of look at this case and see, you know, what happened. How did this all happen to where he got put in this situation? So he was indicted in April of 2025. So Hall, he was then the Pike County Circuit Court judge. He was indicted on 2 counts of mail fraud, 1 count of theft of government funds. The allegations are that prosecutors claim that while serving as Pike County attorney, Hall hired a part-time assistant and submitted false payroll certifications totaling more than $440,000 in compensation and benefits. So, separate from the federal case, the Kentucky Judicial Conduct Commission had previously reprimanded Hall for misconduct, including communicating with defendants without prosecutors present, discussing confidential matters improperly, and threatening a prosecutor. So, I want you guys to remember, because Kentucky does things a little bit different because it's a Commonwealth state. Now, remember the words Judicial Conduct Commission. This is going to come into play here in a second. So the trial dates, they began November 10th of 2025 in a U.S. District Court in Frankfurt. So the verdict was issued on November 18th. So that was Tuesday, yesterday. It was the federal jury acquitted Hall of all charges. Hall was cleared of criminal liability, though his reputation remains clouded by the prior reprimand. Although he could potentially be vindicated and set free of that as well. And we're going to talk about it here in a second. So Hall had been temporarily suspended during the indictment. So following acquittal, reports indicate he may return to his position as Pike County Circuit Judge, though the Judicial Conduct Commission's reprimand still stands. Judge Hall is known for saying, "I will be back on the bench by December." Now it's weird because it's probably going to play out to that. So it remains unclear whether or not that's going to happen. It's nothing certain, but it does seem like he has a pathway back to the bench. So let's talk about the Judicial Conduct Commission. It is comprised of a board of judges. So it's kind of like an appeal, it's just there's more of them. I'm going to read down through those judges as of the Kentucky Judicial Conduct Commission's latest annual report. This is what is the most recent information. So Michael Sullivan is the chair. Dr. I don't know who it is. I think it's a typo when I Googled it. Some doctor from Owensboro. Judge Glenn Acree from Lexington. Now here's the kicker. Judge Eddie Coleman from Pikeville is on this board. Now, okay, so Becky's saying that they reinstated him today. So there's our answer. He is judge. Eddie Coleman is significant. Now, for those of you who watch my TikTok, I don't think I've talked about it too much on my podcast, but we laid the hammer down hard on Eddie Coleman on TikTok because there was a conflict of interest that he did not want to acknowledge in a case involving Judge Robbie Wright's mom getting killed in a car accident. He was going to try to preside over that case, even though there's plenty of documented evidence that Judge Coleman and Judge Wright do spend a lot of time outside of court together. It's a conflict of interest. So the defendant in the case, which is Chad Blackburn, was at a disadvantage. And once I caught wind of that, and I don't remember, I think it was his mom that reached out to me, actually. It's been so long now, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was his mom, Teresa, that reached out to me. And I don't know where Rachel's at, Bonnie. Usually it's not like her. So I'm gonna give her some hell. Say, where are you at? But anyway, so Eddie Coleman, there was this conflict of interest, so we hammered him hard on it. And finally, he did the right thing and recused. But there were some other things said that still has me skeptical of this new judge that's in there. I'm looking into that as well. I can't talk about what the allegations are, but Eddie Coleman potentially could have testified against Judge Hall. Now, I'll guarantee you, or at least this is how it should have gone, that when Judge Hall went up for his Judicial Conduct Commission hearing, that he should, I'm guessing Eddie Coleman would have recused himself from that. There would have been a conflict of interest there. So I don't know for sure if that happened, but that's what should have happened. And I love it when I get text messages that say, "You want some dirt on the local feds?" I just literally just got that. Yes, I do. So there's a conflict there. Now there's a theory in town that several people in the judicial system in Pike County testified against Judge Hall. There's also a theory that that this was a malicious intent to oust Judge Hall. Now that he's back and we're starting to see the rats scurry, I can sympathize with Judge Hall. I know that it's not going to be a popular opinion amongst some of my followers, but I see this as a good thing because that's what these guys in Pike County need. They need somebody that's opposition, that's inside the legal system, that's going to say, okay, you guys want to mess with me? You want to try to throw me in prison for nothing? Okay. Well, let's find out how many of y'all went to Tony Baker's parties. Let's find out, how many of y'all are taking dope for legal fees. Let's find out. Let's find out what's going down. And I think this is Judge Hall's opportunity to help make Pike County right. And I hope that he takes that opportunity because there's enough dirt out there that he could make a phone call and get it done. And I know that these guys are not oblivious. Judge Hall's not oblivious to these things. Now, one thing that I'm not saying that this is the case, but I'm saying it could be the case. If Judge Hall has any kind of history dealing with those guys, that could hurt. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. The Pike County is just sitting back and going, what's he going to do? What's going to happen? And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going, what's going to happen? So I've kind of stayed over here for a minute and said, let's just find out what he. So we're all watching the honorable one. And I will say congratulations. It's always a big deal when you beat a trial. When you beat a jury, it's a big deal. He is officially innocent. So with Eddie Coleman sitting on that board, so Coleman participates in the disciplinary oversight of Kentucky's judges statewide. So he has an influence, and I'm sure he's spent lots of times with the other judges on the panel. So could that panel be compromised? It could. Am I saying that it is? No, but I'm saying that there is the potential for it to be compromised. So I think the benefit of the doubt and seeing how Pike County does things, that there's probably a 70% chance it's compromised on my estimations, but what do I know? So the JCC is the only body in Kentucky authorized to investigate and discipline judges for misconduct. Sanctions can range from private admonitions and suspension, removal from office. You're right, Bonnie. Drugs are always involved in Eastern Kentucky. It's like where all the drugs are born, I think. Everybody just grows drugs everywhere. Or maybe people have an airplane. Somebody I know might have an airplane that brings drugs. Just saying. Don't tell nobody I told you. The commission reviewed 373 complaints with sanctions, including one private sanction and one suspension and one private reprimand. So that's where that's at. We're going to pay attention. I'm going to report on it if I notice anything crazy. But congratulations to Judge Hall for what it's worth. London, Kentucky. Big news out of London, Kentucky. But first, I'm going to share one major accomplishment we have made. You're right, Bonnie, helicopters work too. We had a big breakthrough today in Pike County. Before I get into London, we finally got an indictment returned on Paul Coleman. They indicted him on manslaughter. They're going to recommend a $250,000 bond, and we're going to see a killer get off the streets. So all the work that we put in, all the work that Alice Hurley put in, all the work that Greeley Hurley put in, and Smokeohontas and all the people that helped participate in that, well done. And that's a major problem off the streets of Pike County. And everybody did a great job, and I'm very proud of everyone. And we're one step closer to getting justice for Bacon Hurley. So congratulations, and thank you everyone for all the hard work and the support, and just pray all the prayers. So good job, everybody. So we did get bad news today as well, though, too. So the Doug Harless case did not come back well. KSP concluded their investigation. From what I'm told, it was they found nothing wrong with killing an innocent man. So what happened was Jackie Steele ended up with the report, and Jackie Steele decided, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to get in the middle of it. I want to play 50-50. No, you're a judge that's elected by your peers. Go make a decision. But he didn't do that. He passed it on to Wayne County and let Wayne County oversee the case. But naturally, guess what's going to happen? We're never going to know what they presented or how half-assed they did it, or if they did a good job. We don't know. I'm guessing they half-assed it, because how does an innocent man get murdered in his house while he's sleeping because the incompetence of the London Police Department went to the wrong address? And I'm being nice because I know more to the story, but being nice, these guys are incompetent, went to the wrong house, shot and killed and murdered Doug Harless, and they're going to walk scot-free on it. Now, moving into that, you have brought to my attention that while Josh Morgan, who is the alleged primary killer of Doug Harless, while he was on indefinite leave, magically he gets a $10 an hour pay raise. That is confirmed and verified by City Council. How do you get a $10 an hour pay increase with no union? London PD has no union, so you can't blame it on the union. Trying to blame it on the union. Not union. He got a $10 an hour pay increase. I'm trying to find out who gave him the review, who decided to give him $10, or who referred the $10, who signed off on the $10. Where does that pattern go? How high up the ladder did that pay increase go? Did it make it all the way to City Council? Did it stop at the chief of police? Like, it had to have made it up the ladder somewhere, because otherwise he wouldn't have got paid the money. You get $10 an hour pay increase for murdering a man. This is the most egregious misconduct, miscarriage of justice I've seen in a long time. And it sucks, because George Floyd got his justice. Breonna Taylor got her justice, but Doug Harless doesn't get his justice. It's a sad, sad world we live in, when your police department can murder you and walk. I don't like the immunity rule that President Trump. This is what these guys are using down here for that qualified immunity. President Trump needs to scrap qualified immunity. There needs to be more. You're right, Rob. See, Rob's in Canada. He even knows that's a hit. So there's a problem there, and I'm trying to. I want to encourage everyone in London to continue to dig in, stand your ground, because just because there's a no bill now, it doesn't mean that they can't resubmit to the grand jury later. I'm going to do some thinking on this, on what we can do. And I'm going to talk to some people that hopefully will be able to give me some good advice on it. And we'll see what we can come up with. But everybody in London that knows something about something, you guys need to come off of that information, because your lack of action was very costly. And I know that it's scary out there, but that's why I do these things for you. So that way I can be 2 states away and I can hit them hard, and they're going to have to come in my neighborhood, and they're not going to do that. And you have to keep pushing forward. I give everything to me. There's information that certain people in the community are sitting on. And it cost Doug Harless. So I'm not going to sit here and keep pointing the finger and making the blame game. But what I'm going to tell you is there's work to do, and we got to get to seriously working. Like the protesting's not fine and dandy and everything, doing this and doing that, keeping the spirits up, all that stuff's good. It's good. Keep doing it, but there's got to be real work get put in, like real work. So let's get it done. And Doug Harless we owe him justice. So let's get it done. But that's all I've got for the show today. I'm sure with the state of the country and the state of Kentucky and all the murders and shootings and everything that happens in Georgia, our hands are full. We've got a lot on our plate. But everybody, make sure you pray for your families. Pray for your loved ones, and take care of each other. Look out for each other. We've lost that in society. Look out for each other. Look out for your neighbors. Look out for your family and your friends, and keep your circle. So that's all I've got. I'm out. Peace.